What if church growth wasn't about numbers, but about health? In this episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast, we dive into natural church development by Christian Schwarz, a research-based approach that uncovers the 8 key traits of thriving churches. Could your church be held back by just one missing piece? Let's explore how small changes can lead to natural, lasting growth. Our goal on the potluck is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Here I am.
We mentioned it at the end of our last episode that we needed you back to kind of get us back in focus, but it's good to have you back. It's good to have you from all the reports that you have been dealing with the doctors, and
yes.
Hey, you're finally able to come back to work.
Yeah, I didn't
Formally
let her know that I had art. She was like, "Are you need a pass to go back to work?" I'm like, "No, it's okay."
Yeah.
No, it's. I'm glad to be back though.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is something that you've mentioned several times in our staff meetings. You've talked a lot about it outside conversations with what you do with our state leadership team, and I'm excited for it. Natural church development.
So natural church development is something that I got introduced to when I was in seminary. We had to read sort of an introductory book to it. I didn't fully know that it was like this big program that you could go and get certified in and actually go and help churches become healthy. Through my role with the State Church of God over the past couple of years, I did get certified to be a natural church development coach, which means I'm certified to be able to go and help churches get healthy. We want to see that in all of our churches here in West Virginia, as well as all of our churches anywhere. We want to see them healthy because healthy things grow, and the kingdom of God is meant to grow. We've been talking about that in our series here at Southridge recently. Like, the kingdom, if it's already come and we are empowered by the Spirit, this thing is supposed to grow. Like, when you go and look at different parables that Jesus talks about the kingdom, it's something that grows. It's something that is always expanding, and that happens through the church. And so we need healthy churches, and the problem is there's just not a lot of healthy churches. In comparison to the amount of churches that we have, we lose more churches every week, not just in the Church of God, but just church in general. We lose more in a given week than the amount of churches that are started, and that's because churches have a life cycle, and if they do not act before it's too late to make changes, to turn things around, to try to look towards the future, then churches do close. And we don't want to see that happen. We need churches. That way we have little, groups of people all over the place that can help go and spread the kingdom. So the natural church development process is about helping churches get healthy. It's not about helping them get really, really big, because, again, being big is not the goal. Being healthy is the goal.
So how does this differ from other church growth strategies? I think that's a key takeaway that we need to discuss, because so many times it's just like, hey, let's just get butts in the seats. Seats.
Yeah, so the difference, if I would say the church, like, there was this movement that's kind of gotten a negative connotation now, the church growth movement. It shouldn't have gotten a negative connotation, but because of some of the participants or some of the things that came out of it, it has kind of gotten a negative connotation. And what I'd say the difference with something like natural church development and a focus on church health, how that differs from the church growth movement, is I think a lot of times, even though I don't think that it started out this way, the church growth movement was so focused on growing, they weren't concerned with the health of what it was that they were growing. They were figuring out ways to get people in the door, but there wasn't a whole lot of discipleship going on. There was good stuff going on in their communities. Certainly when you get that many people together, you can go and feed hungry people and clothe people that need it and give shoes to people that are in need, and you can do all kinds of stuff like that. But if you don't first and foremost focus on health and you focus on growth first, then you might grow something really big, but it's not really going to be sustainable because it's not good for the people in it if it's not healthy. And so we want churches to grow, but we want them to grow in the right way. And that's why the natural church development process is such a cool tool that we're going to be using it here at Southridge coming up later this year, where we're going to go through the process. And for those that are just being introduced to this, the process, essentially you have a coach, and that's what I'm certified to do. However, we're going to be using an outside coach just because you're not supposed to coach your own church through the process. And they come and they teach 30 leaders at your church about the process and about how everything is to go. They teach you all the key quality characteristics of a healthy church, and they teach you some of the principles that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks in this. And then you take a survey, and that survey is put into a database that the Natural Church Development founder, Christian Schwarz, says this is the biggest scientific study that's ever been done on the church. And so the statistics that you get from this, the information that you get is really, really helpful in giving you a plan of action for then how to go about it. So you take this survey, you get the results back, then based on the results, then you have an implementation team that gets together that works for the next 12 to 18 months on implementing whatever it is that the data showed in that. And so that's what the natural church development process is, and it's a huge scientific
yeah,
research.
Because their database of all of their stuff and the answers and the responses that they've gotten from church, this isn't something that has just been done over the last year or two. This is decades of results and answers to these questions and then laying out this plan and understanding that this plan may not necessarily be the best course of action for this church. And so they've fine-tuned this machine to where it is super impressive. It's incredible. Yeah, really is.
Now every time a new church says yes to this, the data is always growing. Yeah. So the findings are getting even more fine-tuned. Yeah. And if you're wondering what data comes back, essentially what Natural Church Development has found is that there are 8 quality characteristics of healthy churches, and no church that wants to be healthy and grow can neglect any of them. So you can't just have 5 of them. You can't just have 7 of them. What the research has shown over and over and over is that healthy churches have all 8 of these quality characteristics. So the data that the survey returns will show you where you rank on these 8 quality characteristics. And then what your coach does is he looks at the lowest one and helps you and your implementation team form a plan for how to go after elevating that low score. And it's really helpful because there's a lot of study that Christian Schwarz and his team at NCD has done where most of these growth principles, they're actually looking at things out in nature. Yeah. And so there's something in science and in nature where called symbiosis, where things that have a symbiotic relationship, when one of them gets better, the other gets better. And these 8 characteristics are symbiotic principles, meaning that when you do focus on the weakest one, all of them actually on some level get stronger. So it might seem like for 18 months you're only focused on one thing, but as that one thing gets better, all 8 actually do get better, and it comes from the scriptures. Mark chapter 4, Jesus tells this parable about the kingdom of God. He says that a farmer goes out and sows the seed, but then the seed grows all by itself. Yeah. And it's what NCD calls the all by itself principle. Is that once you have removed the barriers to growth in the church will get healthy and it will grow. But we all have barriers that we don't know about until we go through some sort of process of exploration to find out what it is that might be holding a church back. Yeah. The problem why so many churches close and why so many churches are unhealthy is because they don't want to ask that question. Yeah. They don't want to, because on some level it feels, I'm certain that there are some people that have a theology of the church and Christian leadership where this doesn't seem like the most spiritual thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, we just need to leave it up to the Lord. And it's like, no, I think the Lord places people in positions of leadership that he has made us responsible to hey, if something's wrong, we need to say something's wrong. We need to figure out what it is and work to fix it, because God wants his church to grow. He wants his kingdom to expand.
It's so funny, like, how people get to that point, too, because, I mean, as a father and a husband, I would never lead my family in that type of mindset.
No.
So if God has asked you to be the head pastor of a church, why would you lead the church in that type of mindset? Yeah. You know, just I wouldn't just go, well, you know, my kid's struggling with this. I just got to let God.
Just leave it up to the Lord.
No.
That's the most spiritual thing to do. And it's like, no. If your kid's struggling to learn how to read, you go figure out, get them some help on how to read. It's not unbiblical or unscriptural. In fact, the NCD is really undergirded by the scriptures. Like when you go and you see something like Mark 4, the all by itself principle, like these things are grounded in scripture. So it's not just some like practical or tactical approach to how to figure out how to manipulate God's church into growing.
Yeah.
It's like, no. These are things that the church needs to be involved in and concerned with, and all we're doing is removing barriers that are holding the church back.
Yeah.
And that's what the 8 quality characteristics show us. Like, let's get into what those are.
So I wanted to talk about, before we get into the titles of those, is they have this concept that's called the minimum factor.
Yeah.
And so you had mentioned earlier that each one of those 8 characteristics are all tied together. They're working as one. And you had mentioned that one of them gets better than all of them.
Yes.
Or at least a couple of them that are like really close to it are going to get better and improve.
Yeah.
Now, is that the same for if they get worse as well? And why does this symbiosis between all 8 matter? Because there is an analogy that they use, and I want you to talk about that.
Yeah. So they have this picture when you go through the training, and whenever you go through an NCD weekend, that you'll see a lot, and it's a picture of a barrel. And what happens is it looks like the little staves or the little wood slats on the outside of the barrel. If you were to think of a barrel having 8 of those all represented the 8 quality characteristics, but suppose that some of them are weaker than others, and so some of them are maybe have been cut down and they're lower. Whatever that lowest point is where you're leaking. Yeah. If you think of the amount of people that your church is reaching as the water in the barrel, it's going to reach a certain level, and then it's going to start to flow over, and you're going to start losing and head in the opposite direction because of that minimum factor. Yeah. That's why that thing has to be raised, so that way then you can accommodate health and growth. Yeah. And so the minimum factor is whichever of the 8 you score the lowest in, and that's the one thing that you're going to focus over 12 to 18 months on, how to get better in those areas, how to remove the obstacles or make different decisions in those areas to make that better. But whatever that low thing is, that's kind of your back door of your church. How you might, maybe you're seeing people come in, but the church isn't growing and the church isn't getting healthy. Whatever that minimum factor is, there's a good chance that's the way that they are all headed back out, and why the church is not growing. So that's why the minimum factor is so important to identify, so the way you can raise it, as you raise it, the capacity of the church is raised. Yeah.
That's such a good analogy. It's easy for people to grasp that concept. Like, it's really easy. I mean, if you're a visual individual like myself, I could see and I can pinpoint where the area is, and I can visually see something that you would want protected, or something that is really good that you would want to put inside of this barrel, and it's just spilling out and being all over the place. And God has called us so many times to be good stewards of those things that he has entrusted with us. And so if God is the one that is putting stuff inside of this barrel, we have got to be good stewards of whatever he is entrusting us with.
Yeah, if God's going to trust you with people at your church, you need to be good stewards of those people. Yeah. That's one of my prayers as the pastor of this church. Whenever I pray for God to send people because you can trust us to take care of them.
Yeah.
And that's what it's got to be. We have to see our as the church, that's our responsibility. If the Lord will entrust people to us, then we have a responsibility to help them, grow in their relationship with Christ and become part of the family of God, and ultimately help them to partner with us to expand the kingdom of God.
Yeah. One quick question before we get into the 8 characteristics.
Yeah.
This is not clearly or just only for the Church of God.
No.
This is for any church.
Yeah, no, this is a worldwide program.
Any denomination.
As a coach for this, I could coach any church anywhere through this and take you through this process to help your church. In fact, I would be happy to do that for people if you happen to run across this and you're part of another church. Because it works. This has been tested in every different denomination, every different sort of demographic, whether you're an urban church, rural church, suburban. All 8 of these quality characteristics are going to be the same. However, we will say based on the specifics of the church, the way that you implement these will not be the same.
Yeah.
Because the thing has never been that the church needs to do the same thing at every church.
Correct.
Right? It's always been, the church is always meant to been contextualized to the people that it's reaching.
Yeah.
But the principles don't change, just the implementation of the principles change from church to church.
Yeah, because the needs are going to be different in different areas of the country, in different cities.
Yeah,
and
I remember when I got hired to be the church health guy here in West Virginia, our state pastor was, just wanted to talk to me about this and was like, you understand that your goal is not to make every church in the state like Southridge, even though Southridge is healthy, church with a lot of people. He's like, you understand, we're not trying to go into, let's say, southern West Virginia and try to make super rural places and try to make every. And I said, of course not. Like if I were in a community that it feels like that community would resonate with a different type of music, then we're in Charleston.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a much younger audience. So we play the type of music that we do because that's who our audience is. But if I were going to a church where most of the people are senior citizens and we're rural out in the country, I may say, you know what? I think that a piano player playing the hymns from the Church of God hymnal is what would meet the needs of this congregation. Yeah. And I may go into one church that they're more formal in the way that they do things. And so I might even wear a suit to go there and preach, whereas I would not do that here.
Yeah.
But I don't say, well, because I wear jeans at my church, I should wear jeans at every church.
Yeah, and then everybody at this church needs to wear jeans.
Yeah, it's like, no. All churches were meant to be contextualized to whoever the demographic is that the Lord is leading that lead pastor to go and to reach. And so they're even regionally, right? Yeah. Like regionally, West Virginia, the way that we run a church in West Virginia should definitely be different than the way that we run a church in California. Yeah. The demographic is just drastically different. Yeah. The way that you would go about ministry up in New England, where churches are few and far between, especially healthy and growing churches are few and far between. The way that you would go about ministry there, like we're sitting in the middle of the Bible Belt. Yeah. So they're sitting up there in New England, in the middle of all of the Ivy League colleges and they're dealing with a different demographic. So you got to do church differently in those ways. And so all of this, even though the 8 quality characteristics don't change, the implementation will definitely be contextualized to what will work. I'm working with a church right now in southern West Virginia. I did not go in there and tell them, all right, here's how you do it. Pastor, wear Jordans and some jeans, get you a good hoodie, find you a band, do this, and make you into a little Southridge. No, that's not it whatsoever. Like you have to do whatever it is that is true to who you are as a leader and what your community is looking for.
Yeah. And I want to encourage pastors that may be listening to this to go through this. Reach out to Pastor Scott. Maybe just put in or go to the Natural Church Development website and see if there's someone that you can get a hold of. Because even if you think your church is healthy, you still need to go through this process. It's just like going to the doctor. You want to catch something before it becomes a detriment to your health. I've heard of so many success stories because individuals went to the doctor regularly, and they caught the cancer in enough time to where they can have a treatment plan, and that individual is cancer free. You don't want to wait until it's too late to where you can't, to where there's nothing that you can do.
Yeah, and NCD is one of those things that once you've passed a certain point in your church life cycle, if you've diminished so far down, there's going to be a different program that's going to have to work for you. Yeah. So like this is, if you feel like you're on the backside of the hill, now's the time to act, because when you get closer to the bottom of the hill, it's a much more painful process of how we get your church healthy. And actually, I believe it's kind of beyond what NCD can offer in that moment. I'm part of a national group of pastors called the Church Health Roundtable for the Church of God in United States and Canada. And that's actually what we're putting together right now, is how at different life cycles of a church that different church growth and church health strategies are needed. The NCD, like if you're on life support, fixing your minimum factor is not going to be the key. You're going to have to go through something different. So I encourage you, if you are just starting to plateau, or you're just starting on the other side of the hill and headed down and you can see it, go ahead and think about the future now and do something before it's too late. Because once it's too late, I'm telling you, the process gets very, very painful.
Yeah. So let's get into our 8. I just want to continue to call them staves, just because I like that word. But these quality characteristics in this natural church development, and give us a little brief definition.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a brief definition of all 8, and then over the next 2 weeks, we're going to come back and really drill down on all 8 of them.
Yeah.
And as I go through these, the thing that we want to make sure that we remember is it's actually the adjective that makes the difference. All churches, for the most part, have the second part. It's the adjective that makes the difference, and I'll explain that as we go through it. So the first quality characteristic is empowering leadership.
Yeah.
Every church has leadership, whether you have a pastor, whether you have a board or anything like that. Every church has leadership. However, empowering leadership means that there's a delegation culture going on, that the pastor is not the only one that's responsible for doing work. In churches that are healthy, they understand Ephesians 4, that God gave to the church the leadership to equip the body to do the ministry of the gospel. So if the pastor is the only one that does work, the pastor is the only one that shares the gospel, the pastor is the only one that goes out to evangelize, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
If the pastor has to make every single decision, or the board has to make that right there, without delegation, without empowering other people to go and to do what God has called them to do, then you're going to have a leadership structure that's ultimately not going to allow you.
Yeah.
Because you need other people.
Yes.
So every church has leadership. You need empowering leadership. You need a delegation culture. You need to raise up leaders and trust them with making decisions and authority and things like that. The next thing is gift-oriented ministry. Every church has ministry on some level.
Yeah.
But gift-oriented ministry means that church is dedicated to helping the people of their church figure out how God has uniquely gifted them, what they are passionate about, and then having them serve in those areas.
Yeah.
Where people serve that they're not gifted in burns them out, but it also sends people in the opposite direction when you come in contact with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have a door greeter at your church, the front door, the face of your church, and they're not a friendly person, because well, you needed someone to open the doors, so I said yes, but that's not my gift. You have no idea how that person might actually be sending the wrong message to the people that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And honestly, and sometimes if you don't have the right person, sometimes it's better to have no person.
Yeah.
Right? I told a church that I'm working with right now, they asked if do we have to have a kids ministry because we don't really have a person gifted in it. I said no. You don't have to. You can find a different way to leverage the other gifts in the church to take care of kids. But if you don't have the person, then that might actually be costing you more than it's actually helping you.
Yes.
So everyone has ministry, but you need gift-oriented ministry. You need people to take spiritual gifts assessments.
Yes.
And pair them up with where they're actually meant to be, because God has put the body of Christ together in such a way that he's gifted all of us. He's gifted us all uniquely, and we need to use that unique gift to build up the body of Christ. The third one is passionate spirituality. This is, what is the temperature level of the people sitting in your church?
Yeah.
Are they fasting, praying? Are they diligent in following after Jesus?
Yeah.
Or are they just checking the boxes?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be part of a group of people that's not passionate.
No, I don't want to be. I want to.
No.
I want to. That's one of the reasons why. I mean, I'm so drawn to seeing how you do things, because everything that you do is all about Jesus. Yeah, we'll knock off. We'll talk about The Office here and there, or podcasts or whatever that we've listened to, but it's all about Jesus. I want to have conversations with people about Jesus. I want to talk about music. What are you listening to? What other kind of Christian podcasts are you talking about? Are you consuming? What books have you read that have grown that have helped you grow in your relationship with the Lord? Like, I want to be a part of that, because that's the culture I want to be a part of.
Passion is contagious. Like,
Yes.
2 days ago, I was on Facebook here at work for doing something, and I saw 2 different reviews for a new restaurant that just opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And because I read how passionate those people were about how incredible their experience is, now I want to go to that restaurant.
Oh yeah.
And this is how passion works. When people see the spiritual fervency in a church, that is exciting to them. But if they come into a congregation and it feels like everyone there is just checking the boxes, like, well, we just are here because, we have to be here, or we don't want to go to hell, or whatever it is. Like, nobody wants to be a part of that. They want to be a part of a group of people that are really being transformed.
Yeah.
That this is really working in your life. Something is happening.
Yeah.
So everyone's got some form of spirituality. Healthy churches have passionate spirituality.
Yeah.
The next one is functional structures, which this is one of those that I know, like, the super uber spiritual people want to try to push back on because it doesn't feel very spiritual.
Yeah.
But our structures in the church do decide whether or not our church can be healthy or not. So some of these would be like, if you are in a board governance where you have to have 3 different meetings and 2 congregational votes to get anything done, you're going to move at such a slow pace to be able to implement things and to do things that your ultimately your governance structure is going to have to be changed to be more functional to get you to where you want to go. This was something that happened here at Southridge. It's been probably 20 years ago now that we became a staff-led church, meaning that we believe that what the scriptures show is that God places pastors in charge of congregations, so the pastor should be the one making the decisions for the direction. Now, I'm held accountable by our elders and our overseers in that way, but I don't have to go to them every time that we turn around that something comes up. Or if I feel the Lord leading us to a certain sermon series or a certain ministry opportunity, we don't have to have 6 different congregational votes to get anything done. We can just go and do what it is that God has entrusted us to do. So
it's just a wall, bro. We just need to put some paint on it.
We have a very functional structure here. Other things that could be in this are your structures as far as the safety of your building, the cleanliness of your building, the accessibility of your building. These are all functional structures that have to be in place. Like, if you have a nursery that looks like, no way am I putting my kids down on that carpet, that's a structural issue that has to be changed for you to ultimately get healthy. So every church has structures. Healthy churches have functional structures. The next one is inspiring worship services. Yep. If what you offer, the sum total of a church is not what you do on Sunday mornings. However, if the main gathering of your church is boring and does not apply to people's lives, nobody wants to come. Yeah. Nobody wants to be a part of that. So, and I'm not saying that it has to be contemporary music or traditional music. Whatever it is, it has to be inspiring to people. People have to feel the presence of God. The teaching has to be applicable to people's lives and excite them. Yeah. You can't be talking about crap that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
So do your services excite people? Like, do people leave feeling like, yes, I want to go do something for God, or do they feel like, man, well, we showed up, we did it again, check the box.
Yeah, check the box.
Let's go to Cracker Barrel now. Like, everyone's going to have worship services. Healthy churches are going to have inspiring worship services. People are going to feel drawn to action.
Yeah, actually take a day during the week and look over your stuff. Don't show up on a Sunday and go, hey, we're going to sing these songs and not put careful planning and preparation into what is happening and what you're trying to do.
We'll give you some specifics when we get to this in one of the future episodes. Like, this is something that we spend a lot of time on.
Yeah,
we spend a lot of time and energy on this.
But it's good.
Because it's important.
Yes.
This is probably one of the areas where I would say that when we do our NCD survey that we'll rank high.
Yeah.
However, the next one, probably this time last year, I would have felt like this would have been our lowest one. Yeah. And that's loving relationships.
Yeah.
Which means when people come to be part of your church, they need friends that help take care of them. Yeah. They need people that, hey, you're going through something, I've got someone to pray with me, I've got someone to care for me. These are all, we're actively trying to fix these things, and we'll get into more details about that when we do the deep dive on loving relationships.
Yeah.
But loving relationships is not like, you don't want a church where people just show up and then they leave and they don't have anything to do with each other the rest of the week.
Yeah.
The people in your church need to be friends with one another. They need to be in each other's lives. They need to know.
Yeah.
If something happens tonight, I have someone that I can call that's going to be there for me.
Yeah.
The next thing is need-oriented evangelism. So if you have an evangelism strategy that's sort of random, it's not going to lead to health in your church. However, need-oriented evangelism, what that is, it means that before you decide what programs or mission work or outreach you're going to do, you're going to look at the needs of your community first and foremost and decide what it is that your community needs. Don't borrow a program from another church in a different city. They might not have the same needs as you. What are the needs in yours? So, like, do you have a high population of grandparents raising their grandchildren because of the drug epidemic? If so, you might need to do some specific evangelism and outreach towards grandparents who are now back in the parenting role.
Yeah.
There's things that the local church can do to equip grandparents for that. Do you have a high amount of single moms? Do you have a high amount of drug users and people struggling with addiction? What are the needs of your community? Are there a bunch of kids going to sleep right in the shadow of your church hungry and you don't know about it?
Yeah.
If you knew about it, you could do something about it, because you don't want to just, like, if you're just offering programs to be offering programs, there's no strategy behind it.
And I think it's
look at the needs.
I think it's so easy too to think that we've got to slap the church's name on everything, and it's real easy to find a group that's maybe 10 blocks down the road that does it really good and partner with them as well. But I mean, like you said, we're going to get into those things, but it's just to get the gears going a little bit as we break these things down, and what does it look like and how can it be healthy?
Yeah.
So,
and the final one is holistic small groups. Yeah. Most churches have some sort of small groups, whether they're life groups, whether it's Sunday school or whatever it might be. Holistic means that small group needs to touch every area of those people's lives. Yeah. If all the group does is get together once a week to study the Bible, and then those groups don't have those loving relationships, and those groups aren't out on mission to do need-oriented evangelism, if those people in that group are not using their gifts to serve the church, it's not holistic. It's not touching every area of their life. They're showing up for a group, they're checking the box, but holistic means when I'm part of a group, I need to know that there are people that this is going to help me grow in my faith, but also that now I have people that I can call on. Now I have people to hold me accountable. Now I have people that I can be on mission with. Holistic in the sense that your small groups should be touching every aspect of that individual's life, and not just, well, we show up, we study the Bible, we go home. It needs to be holistic.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just for our listeners, and maybe if there's any church pastors that are out there listening, how can someone get a hold of you to where these church leaders can begin to take that assessment and start working towards becoming a healthier church?
Yeah, if you're interested in the NCD process and you're not from Southridge Church, I'd encourage you to send me an email at southridgescott@gmail.com, and I would be happy to work with any churches that I possibly can through this process. It is a long process, but it really does. It helps identify those barriers, and I don't come up with the strategies. My goal whenever I'm coaching is to help you come up with the strategies for how to get rid of those barriers, because when they come from you, you have more ownership.
Yeah.
If it feels like I'm just coming in going, do this, plus I don't know your community the way that you know your community.
Yeah.
So it really is a coaching relationship in that way, where I'm presenting information, but I need you to come up with the strategies, because when you are the one with it, you have more buy-in, you have more stake in it. Whereas if I just give you an assignment, then you might do the assignment, but your heart won't be in it. So if you're interested, southridgescott@gmail.com, I'm happy to work with anybody that I possibly can for this. If you're a Southridge church folk and you're interested in being on the implementation team or just want to hear more, you can also email me. Happy to help you find a way to be involved in this, or at the very least, if you're a Southridge church folk, be in prayer for this.
Yeah.
Be in prayer for this. We're not doing this because the church is in any sort of trouble. Again, we are always looking towards the future.
Yeah.
I want to hand this church off to someone in the future better than what it was given to me. Not that it was given to me in shambles or to say anything negative about people that came before me. It's our role in life, whatever it is. Whenever you pass off, whatever it is, whether you're a nurse at the end of your shift, is your responsibilities in better hands than when you got them? If you're a lawyer, or is that client in better shape than when you got them?
Yeah.
All of us, this is what we're trying to do. So as a pastor, I'm just trying to get this church into a place that in the future, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road, when I hand this off, I want it to be in as good a shape as possible. And so that's why we're doing this. So if you'll join me in being in prayer for this process as well, because I'm excited to see what God's going to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation about it. Well, it's time for our mystery meat question. What this is a bunch of random questions, sticking with the potluck theme. Sometimes there's going to be something in this jar that you want to put on your plate, and sometimes there's not, but you get what you get. Agree or disagree?
I like that. Just one word answer.
Yep. A fork. We're supposed to talk about it, Scott, and break it down. A fork is better than a spoon for mac and cheese.
Yeah, of course.
A fork is better than a spoon?
Absolutely.
I think for me, it depends on what kind of mindset I'm in. Because sometimes I like to put the macaroni noodles on the little fork teeth. What are they called?
Yeah, prongs. I don't know. I'm going with a fork every time for mac and cheese.
But if I'm in a hurry and I need to get it down, spoons are the way to go.
Yeah. Now here's the thing about me right now. I could actually care less whether it's a fork or spoon. I am like in a place where it just has to be plastic right now for me.
He's just tired of doing dishes?
No, I've told y'all, I've told everybody, the older I get, the weirder I get. And I actually have problems putting metal silverware into my mouth.
Is it just the
out.
possibility of the sound that
it's the sound, it's the taste, it's the touch. It grosses me out.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird that we have now started keeping all paper plates, all plastic silverware in our house, and it's not because we don't want to do the dishes. I mean, that doesn't hurt, but I'm out on metal silverware unless I absolutely.
What about cups? Do you have to do a solo cup?
I would prefer to have a solo cup, than a real cup.
Bruh.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm sorry
it's
that
very
you're.
Weird.
I'm sorry that's.
There's some sort of if I go out to a restaurant or whatever, I'll just suffer through it. But I go over to my mom and dad's house for dinner, and my mom is the type of person when she makes dinner. Don't disrespect it by putting it on a paper plate and using paper. You know what I'm saying? She wants you to have a nice plate, real silverware. And I'm over there busting out the plastic stuff. She's like, we have clean silverware. And I'm like, I know, but if you have plastic silverware, I am going to use it 100% of the time. I don't know. So Whether it's a fork or a spoon for mac and cheese, I'm just saying it better be plastic.
What you need to do is you need to get some of them pre-wrapped ones and just leave it in your car for whenever you need it.
I'm hoping that this, whatever it is, goes away. That way I don't end up in like 5 years now where when I go out to dinner, I'm literally bringing my own cutlery in my pocket like some psycho. But I feel like that's where it's headed right now. It's like if I'm eating a steak, it's like, okay, I will cut it with a steak knife, but I will eat it with a plastic fork if I have a chance.
Yeah. Could you imagine like going on like a super, because like whenever it comes around to like the big anniversaries, the 10-year, the 15, the 20, 25, you typically go a little bit overboard in like the restaurant that you go to hang out, and it's like one of them like
I'll be at a Ruth's Chris with a plastic fork in my hand if things don't get better.
Real world talk, that steak stinks. That's
no
terrible
way.
100%. 100%.
Although I've only been there once, and when I did go there, I did not get the steak. I actually got the chicken, which is weird because that's another thing that I've changed on.
You don't like steak?
No, I can't hardly eat chicken anymore unless it's like chicken nuggets.
You can't eat like fried chicken?
I can do fried chicken, but I really only like the skin. But like any sort of grilled chicken or broiled chicken, anything like that, I'm kind of out on now.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if it's like grilled chicken and like a pasta with like Alfredo sauce or something?
Yeah, I mean, I could take it or leave it, to be honest.
So interesting, dude.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I don't know. I'm getting very weird.
The evolution is taking me by surprise every single time something like this comes up.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because the first time I was just like, it's normal for people to not like vegetables, and now if you could get rid of them, you would bomb all the farmland. You don't eat you don't eat.
Yeah, the metal silverware thing is weird to people. Because normally people are like, I don't want plastic silverware.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
The next time we do, we pray for people up front. We'll anoint you, bro.
Yeah. I need it. There's definitely some stuff going on.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, hey, you live your life the way that you want to, and we'll just laugh along the way as long as you're willing to laugh with us. But I'm really looking forward to this conversation over the next couple of weeks. And I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do as a church with the Natural Church Development team and their assessment and where we can improve as a church overall to where we can be a healthier church. That way God can trust us with more. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Pastor's Potluck. We hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week for another episode. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.